Well, Freaks is a first feature from Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein, and they've been extremely clever in concocting their sci-fi thriller. In a dilapidated house, we're introduced to father and daughter in a strange setup. He's Henry, Emile Hirsch, and she's Eleanor. Well, actually, she's Chloe, but Henry made her take on another name. She's played really impressively by the relatively unknown young Lexy Kolker. She's been closeted in the house for 7 years, but now she's developing a hankering for an ice cream from Mr. Snowcone, whose truck loiters outside. Is Henry sane as he warns her about people outside wanting to kill them? Is Chloe going a bit off the rails, imagining a woman who comes into her panic room, into which she's often locked for misdemeanours, who ends up screaming at her? It turns out that Mr. Snowcone is actually Chloe's grandfather, Bruce Dern, who wants something from her, which Henry resists. When Henry tries to give Chloe to neighbours across the street, according to an arrangement they've made for her safekeeping, all hell breaks loose. Now, it's best not to go too much further with the plot because much of the pleasure of the film is not knowing where it's going to go next. Shot on limited locations in Canada and using visual effects adroitly, Lipovsky and Stein have done wonders on a meagre budget, cleverly constructing a tale that, while it starts slowly, builds to mayhem. I'm not sure that the political allusions work as well as intended, and there are quite a few moments where suspension of disbelief proves problematic. But you have to admit the film is an original creation that, after its first third, will certainly engage you.
Yes, it's certainly engaging, if extremely confusing at times. It does change genre many, many times, this film. I mean, it's a combination of science fiction, fantasy, comic strip allusions and sort of... and political allegory, really. And I thought the political allegory aspect worked quite well. The Freaks are really, I think we're meant to believe that they're just migrants of all kinds, refugees, the undesirables, the unwanted. I thought that worked quite effectively, but it takes a while for us to sort of work. The first third, as you say, really is quite fascinating and quite gripping, but also at the same time totally confusing. And the way the film kind of morphs into a superhuman kind of fantasy is rather sort of odd, but totally engaging at the same time. It's almost as if these young directors are auditioning for the next film in the Superman franchise. It's very odd, the whole thing, but beguiling also.
Well, I just think, making your first film, knowing you've got a limited budget, restricting it to such a limited space. It's smart. I think they're smart. Look, I don't think it's great. I really quite enjoyed it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
I'll give it 3.5 too. I found it quite enjoyable and at times really oddly beguiling. It's really weird.
You use the term freaks. Any freaks who are running loose are illegal.
You better get away from my house.
I don't want to hide anymore.